and welcome to the Sewing Works Block of the Month featuring the Stitch Connections Bloomin Flowers quilt. This is a machine embroidery project that I'm happy you're joining us on. And the first thing I want to talk to you about is the way that she does her appliques for each of her blocks. So it's a little bit of a new technique for me, maybe it's a new technique for you, and I just wanted to show you how quick and easy it is on the embroidery hoop to create your applique shapes. So what you will need is it clearly states in your directions what size you will want to cut your square for your appliques. So for month 1 on the clay pot, we have a 7-inch square. And I have already cut, first I have starched it, cut out my 7-inch square, and then I added the Heat and Bond light to the back, and I'm leaving the paper backing on for this part. The next thing I'm going to need is an embroidery hoop. For you Bernina users, your medium hoop is big enough for most of the applique shapes that you're going to be creating. And you will also want some tearaway to put in your medium hoop. So we're going to put one layer of tearaway in our hoop, and I will meet you over at the sewing machine to show you what's coming next. Come on. So you can see I have opened up my clay pot design on my embroidery screen, and I've selected my medium hoop, and it looks like it's definitely going to fit. I also have my tearaway stabilizer in my hoop, so I'm ready to go ahead and prepare to stitch it out. So all I need to do is lay my applique fabric on top of my hoop, and it doesn't really matter which color thread you're going to use, and then we're going to hit go. Now that my embroidery has finished with the one color, I'm going to go ahead and select that I'm finished, and I'm going to take my hoop off. I will then take this out of the hoop and take you over to the cutting table and show you how to cut out this applique shape. So now that I have embroidered my clay pot applique, I'm going to take this out my hoop, and I apologize, I realize that red thread is not the easiest to see on my fabric that I chose. So on the back, I'm going to tear away my stabilizer, which I still have my Heat and Bond in the middle, which I can use my nail to kind of peel that up. Get the rest of that out of there. Now, once I get my stabilizer out, and I'm not worried about all the little bits and pieces, once I get this cut, that'll come free. I am going to cut right on that stitch line. Because she uses a very loose decorative stitch to stitch these appliques down, it is very important to use the Heat and Bond, which will keep the edges from fraying. And I can see my tension wasn't the best on this, but we're just cutting right on that stitch line. I'm not worried if I'm cutting my stitches. I don't really want that thread, but I'm not necessarily cutting inside the stitch line or outside the stitch line, but more directly on top of. Now I will be able to take my paper backing off if I want, or I can wait until I'm actually ready to stitch it down. And I'm going to use the placement line that she gives you in the embroidery file, and then set this down and set my heat and bond. So for those of you who haven't used heat and bond in the past, you're going to put the glue side down, and it's a 3-second press on the back on each section of it to get it to stick to the original fabric. And then you take this paper backing and peel it, which you can see that glue is adhered to the back. And then you'll set it down on your background once you have your placement line, and do another 3 or 4 second press on all edges to get that to adhere down. Thank you for joining us today, learning the Stitch Connections applique technique in the embroidery hoop. Having the design stitch out for you makes it so easy to trace and cut right on the line to give you perfect applique shapes. Don't forget to use your heat and bond, and have fun. Thanks for joining us.